Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? We'll see how the dog goes, but her name's Morticia, if anybody's interested. They're doing adoptions out there, right? So I thought it would be fair, and maybe Morticia will find an owner, a forever home, if we bring her up on stage, because she's so sweet. Look at her, right? She was just falling asleep on me behind back there. Isn't that so sweet? So we'll see how it goes, but I'll hand her to Sam if my arm just gets tired, because I'm not used to carrying a tiny little doggy anymore. Yeah, understandable. Okay, cool. Oh, right, I have a thing. And we'll see how it goes with the clicker and everything. So, it's 4 o'clock. Is there anybody out there? I know you guys are, yeah. I know everyone's tired, so I made the most chaotic and crazy decks for everyone. So welcome to visual overload of decks. I made basically a video game in a deck because I'm talking about soft skills and stuff today. So I thought I would make it as nerdy as humanly possible for all of my peeps here. I want to thank Mike and Patrick and JR and Matthew for having me. This is so cool. And they put on such a great conference. How has it been for everyone? Good? Have we all learned how to be better technical SEOs, I hope? I think I've learned a crap ton today already. And thank this wonderful place. This has been so great. Okay, but I'm going to talk about the pitfalls of following frameworks. I am Jess Joyce. I come from Canada, and I love raccoons. It's my power animal. It's how I feel about myself on the inside. So I, like Mike said, I've done in-house, out-house agencies, whatever, for money, for SEO throughout the universe. And now I run my own company called Inbound Scope with a co-founder. So, hey, Morticia. Yeah. I got big on LinkedIn because I publish frameworks. That's probably how you know me, or UX studies, UI studies. We post all kinds of stuff on there. So instead of taking a purely technical route, which you guys have all done a fantastic job of doing, and I would just be repeating all the same things that you guys have all said before, I thought I'd talk about frameworks and following them all, right? So I have a question for everybody. How many people in this room, how many people have all followed a straight line in their life, right? Right? I know. That's how I feel, right? You went to school, university. I didn't even go to university. Married? Nope, still not married, technically, so cool. Yeah, nobody has followed a straight line in their life, right? That's kind of the framework of life, though, right? So you were supposed to follow that, but did you? I don't think so. Nobody did. So frameworks, they don't turn your life into a straight line, but they keep you from staring at a blank page, right? And that's what AI kind of does for us at this point, right? Is we don't have to stare at a blank page to start writing. That's how I've been kind of using it. So I find that very helpful. I started this talk because there's a meetup in Toronto, and I'm going to swear, so sorry, live stream, but it's called Fuck Up Nights. And it's kind of my favorite thing ever, is founders come to this tech meetup in Toronto, and they share radical failures about how they've failed in their business or something's failed, and they share that with everybody. And on the internet, we're not at a lack of anybody flexing anything. You could open up your phone now and see 100 people flexing about whatever graph or chart that they're running or metric that they're doing and saying how good it ended up being, but how many of us talk about our failures, which I think is pretty amazing to do? I saw Bree mention it, and Jory mentioned it, right? Yeah, we should be talking about our failures, so I like talking about them. So I'm going to talk about a bunch of situations that I got in. Oh, she's getting heavy. Sam, I'm sorry. I'm tagging Sam. Thank you. Thank you, Morticia. Everybody thank Morticia if you need a doggy. There you go. She's wonderful. Please adopt. Adopt, don't shop, right? Isn't that the thing? Cool. So real situation number one that I came into is we had a team that said that they work in sprints. Dun, dun, dun. No, they don't. And guess when I learned that? 8 months later. So I was operating under the assumption that they were literally working in sprints. Oh my gosh, my animations work. Oh, I'm so happy. And they don't. And this is a giant company. So when they say they work in sprints, quote unquote, it just means they file JIRA tickets and they maybe get done at some point in the future. Has anybody worked for a company like that? No, yeah, maybe. You can tell me. It's okay. We're sharing. We're being honest in this room at this point. It's 4 o'clock and you're just waiting to drink, right? So let's just be fairly honest with each other. That is the number one thing that I've come across, and that scared the ever-loving bejeebus out of me because I work in sprints. All of our frameworks are based around us talking to each other every other week. You know, we systematically move the bar forward every week to get stuff done, right? So when you say you don't work in sprints, how do I align my framework towards anything when you've just thrown that up in the air? That sucked. Number two, real situation number two is with Duck Hunt. Anyway, is the developer got laid off. Wah, wah, wah. Anybody lost their resources halfway through a project? Yeah, that sucks. So I've come into the world of, because I want to help and I want to be helpful and I want to get stuff done and I want to ship things. I'm like, oh, I used to be a dev. Give me access. Well, 6 months later, I'm still trying to get access to the website because I have to have an email. I have to be put into their Jira. I have to go through some sort of Microsoft. I'm sorry, Microsoft, but I don't want to deal with you ever. And I've gotten to the point now where I'm avoiding talking about getting access to the site because it's going to take me 3 days just to get access to the site, which is annoying, which is fair. And I understand this is enterprise and everything, but like, just because you guys laid off my resource, that sucks. My whole framework went out the window in that instance, which was not great. Real situation number three is we tried to do an internal linking sprint. Everyone loves an internal linking sprint, right? I work in sprints. Great. Awesome. Well, I don't have access to the website, so how am I going to do an internal linking sprint? Well, this became an effort in patience. Because I had to make spreadsheets on spreadsheets on spreadsheets and then pass this off to the poor dev who had millions of questions for me on what the heck I was even looking at and how I was going to implement this. And we had to have meeting after meeting after meeting with this person instead of them just giving us access to the website. So again, my framework also sounded great, you know, just do an internal linking sprint. But the actual action that went along with that was really sucky. And I still feel horrible for that dev in my head. I can see his face and how much he hated his life when I was like, here's my anchor text. I think we're the only people in the world who love hearing that term other than link builders, right? Or citation builders, or is that what we're going to call them in the future? Who knows? I don't know, whatever we call them. So real situation number 4 is the most honest one I have, is my mom lives with me, and she has epilepsy, and she went in the hospital for a month last year. So literally throughout every single framework that I had in one shot. And I disappeared for a month because I live 2 hours outside of this Toronto and I had to drive back and forth. She was in the hospital for a month. That sucked. And then we lost like 4 clients because of it. It was just like this compounding effect of every framework that I had tried to implement and set up for our company of 2, really? There's 2 of us. But still, like, you got to start with something. And it sucked because I had to throw out every single framework and start again, which I still feel like and it was this time last year. Oh my God. I just realized that. So the real takeaway from this is people problems are frameworks problems. We've spent the last 2 days talking about like tech and nerdiness and all this implementations of things, but at the end of the day, this room is filled with people, like real people who feel things and go through things at the end of the day, which is kind of crappy, right? And I've heard all these things from every single angle that I've heard them from, is people say frameworks don't work, which means they don't understand what the heck a framework is, right? The dev, design, marketer are all left. Has anybody had their whole team leave? Because that would be pretty, what? I'm so sorry. Right? Thank you. Exactly. And then what happens to all the frameworks that you've spent all this time like implementing into that when all these people peace out for one reason or another, right? The knowledge is never distributed. Then teams get shuffled around because that's what happens in big organizations. I worked in a big organization or a big agency, whatever, and they just shuffle you around in teams. So like there's no knowledge distributed through these. And then the last one is always one of my favorites, is we follow the framework but nothing ships. Is because the framework protects process and not outcomes, right? It just means you're doing busy work at the end of the day, which is kind of a bummer, right? My favorite ones, though, is one person knows how this works. Is the one person is like a key master. So that dev that got laid off, he was a key master. I literally referred to him as the key master if we've all seen The Matrix, right? He was the person that held everything. I was in a meeting yesterday in the green room with that client, and they were asking about getting access to their DNS. Guess who has access to the DNS? Where's the key master? Dead. He's not dead. I messaged him on LinkedIn too. So he's okay. He's alive, but like he's mostly dead. He's dead in like the game situation, right? Like and that's the single point of failure. So if you're going to do frameworks and you're going to implement things, you got to make sure that it's distributed across the organization or that this one dead dev doesn't hold on to all the knowledge, right? And then my favorite of all favorites is the CMO change. How many times have we all worked with organizations where the CMO changes? Yeah, how does that feel when the new CMO comes in? Do you get that little gurgle in your stomach like I get? Like you have to do all your work all over again and make sure that they like you. If they like the way that you smell, if they don't like your eyes for some reason, they're like, maybe I'll just go with a different agency. Yeah, so that exactly what it is the CMO changed and the framework became irrelevant. So you have to get buy-in for all of these things, which is all the things that we've been saying in the last couple of days, right? So frameworks versus reality. And the one piece I do want to call out is we also share a bunch of checklists on the internet too. And I know everybody loves a checklist because they can go in and just start going through it. But I really want to stress the fact that we're all people and we all have institutional knowledge. So we need to think outside of it. And that's what this whole talk is about, right? Like looking outside of a checklist. Jared isn't here anymore, is he? But him and I complain about checklist audits wherever he went. So for prosperity and for the internet, Jared, you are seen. Thank you. So given that we're talking about frameworks, there are some times where I think you do need to be rigid for some of your frameworks, given security, right? Security is the biggest one. Do you want people to get access to your website? Do you want people to get access to your DNS? So like that dev left, that sucks, right? But they should have security in practice to have a framework to make sure that that's set, because otherwise that dev could be sitting, the dead dev, could be sitting on LinkedIn and just updating DNS. That's terrible, right? But the flexible ones are the ones that most of the stuff that we work on, right? Strategy, workflows, timelines, tactics, and stuff, so you can be a little more flexible with some of these things. So given all this, I'm going to give you a framework for frameworks. How meta is that? And I'm not going to ask you to comment frameworks to get the link, because we're in real life, right? Thanks to everyone. I hate that stuff now, and I do it. So the framework principles are that they should all of your frameworks should fit into all of these things. All your processes should fit into all these things. All the things that you do within your organization should fit into these like tenets, principles, right? That they're modular, they're documented, they're reviewed, and my favorite is contextualized. It is the word that I use the most in every conversation with every client that I have. Do we have the context that we need to move forward, right? How do I know that what we're talking about is the right ICP? I need the context. It's permissive, it's measured, and it's trusted. So those are the things. And if you actually do care, I vibe coded. I vibe coded a score to score your framework. So since it is a tech conference, I decided to vibe code with Lovables, some sort of scoring system that you can go through to see if your framework or your process or something fits within this principles, which I think is pretty cool. And it gives you a trust score and a visualization based off of this. Thank you, Lovable. It'll never go live because of all the SEO issues. Like we all know these things exist and I would never push it live. Yeah, but I did have fun building it. So it was my little technical piece for my technical talk. Cool. And then, so since we're all talking about AI, prompts are frameworks 2.0, right? So these days you could take all of my frameworks or any framework and just throw it into a prompt, right? Just be like, do it for me. But please don't, because it's the same approach, right? Is your prompt contextualized? And this is about writing prompts too, right? Like we're all kind of learning about how to write prompts. We're learning about how to prompt better, faster, stronger. Thank you, Daft Punk. And to do all those things. This is a new technology though, right? So you don't want to copy and paste prompts. This feels like way back in the day where you go on what was it called? Experts Exchange. I have to say it slowly because otherwise I'll say Experts Exchange because it's also that. Remember when you used to go on Expert Exchange and like copy code and put it right into your website and you'd be like, I don't know what this does. This feels like the same thing. Is we repackage and resurface the same problem. So I think we just need to put some contextualization and some process and some principles into what we're doing to make sure that we're being better, faster, stronger humans. Right. So let's put this all together. Have I bored you enough yet? Because I'm doing okay, but everyone's still here? Yeah! Okay, I gotta get you all psyched up because Max comes next, right? Because he's the one that we're all waiting for. Cool. Okay, so let's bring this all together. Your framework should drive your team's permission to deviate. You should be allowed to deviate from a framework too, right? Like, just because we're all like putting our heads down and working, you should still be able to be a human at the end of the day. And if you have better ideas, bring them in. So, and to make things better, faster, stronger. Because if they're afraid to ask the rules, then they don't trust you to adapt to them, right? We are in a crazy change of this internet thing, so I think we need to have our brains a little bit more open to being able to accepting all kinds of ideas, and those come from all different kinds of places. And smart teams adapt frameworks to that they trust, and you need to build trust. This whole thing's based on trust, right? AI is based off trust. This is there's a theme here. So 3 questions to diagnose your frameworks is, can my team modify this if the context changes? Again, context, so important. It is the key word for me, yeah. Does my framework have a built-in flexibility? Can I like change things around? And am I measuring outcomes and not attachment to the framework? Because a lot of times, and I've had these too, I've had bosses that are just like, do the work. And you're like, but I want to think. Can I change the work based off of how I think? No. So, yeah, but if you say no, you either have a human problem or a framework problem, or like Ross Hutchins was saying, maybe you just need to leave that company and go somewhere else. Cool. So the best teams understand that frameworks work well, but they work well enough to keep improving them. So well done, you all get to keep your hearts in this video game of my presentation that you get to do. Everyone's staying awake, so that's good. And that only happens when you've trusted them first and led by those 6 principles, which you can go and vibe code your own, because I love Lovable. It's just my favorite place to hang out at the moment. Anyway, so yeah, that's all I got. Thank you for playing with me.